Hey guys, Master Xeon here with another Blender tutorial. Now lately I've been trying to figure out exactly what I want to do a tutorial on. So if you guys ever have any ideas, of course, drop a comment or whatever. Now today we're going to be talking about the UV project modifier. Um, I was going to bring in something to texture paint, but that'd be like a 45-minute tutorial, and this one is actually going to be kind of small talk. Alright, so this sphere is a sphere that I just marked with a seam and chose sphere projection, so it came out pretty even over here. I'm going to hit new and give this a new texture. We'll just call this test. 1024 is good enough, and we'll just make it green. Alright, so it didn't make the texture. Now I'm also using the new version of Blender that is going to be having Bmesh added on as well, or actually it's already there. So I want to show you all a couple of things with that too. But this is still going to be a good video nonetheless. Now, in other programs such as ZBrush, you have features like Spotlight, where basically you're able to basically project a picture from this view, from this view, from this view, or whatever. We're just going to hide the empty and we're going to put in a camera. Look at it from the front, and there we go. So we have this UV map, which of course is this good one. So we'll just call this good UV, and we're going to make another UV, and we're just going to call this project. And while we're messing with this, I want to show another thing. Now, a lot of people ask how to get images into Blender, and you load up a default scene, and it's like, it's pretty much that without anything. So you want to put the image as your background. Well, right now I'm not looking at it in front or side. Let me make it show screen keys. So, for example, if I just get it in Wompy view and just grab a snip, let's see, we'll just grab that and drop it. Now, in front, side, top, and every view pretty much that you get to with the numpad, you're going to have your image until you go over here under your in panel and make adjustments. Now, I think it's an awful way to do it now. Blender has gotten so much better. You don't even have to do that anymore. Now, dragging it onto the viewport is a risky way. The easiest way, in my opinion, is to just drag your image, bam, onto the UV image editor. And then from there, if you want to use it as a background image, you can recall it, If you want to assign it as a texture, you could go over in the texture panel, change this over to image, and recall it. So basically your goal is to get the image into Blender so you can recall it into the memory. So, or just recall it wherever, because you can recall it as a texture, background image, on an empty, whatever. Now, we're going to take this, and right now I'm in textured mode, which is Alt-Z. Give a UV project node. We're going to change this to cat snip, override image, and make this to project, and put camera. So now if we look at, well, we're supposed to be able to look at the project, and it's supposed to show us our image, but for some reason it's not. And this is, I think, more of an issue with the version of Blender I'm using than it is the actual modifier. Since they put Bmesh in, it's made things crazy, but Bmesh is a good thing, and once they get it figured out, it'll make Blender one of the best programs ever. So I'm still just messing around with this, trying to figure out why it's not showing. see, do I gotta go over here to project and load up cat? Seems a bit overkill. Oh, it looks like I do. So now, if I go into camera view, I am like projecting the cat onto the sphere, which if we bring up another 3D window and we're just looking at this, you know, we got the cat's eye and you can see the picture changing as I do it. So basically you would be moving the camera, looking around, getting it just right. And you also have some options you can mess with. In fact, the UV project node is a node that is still kind of a mystery to me, because, I mean, I don't know what its original purpose is, but it's darn good like this. So, we can go to good UV now. Here's another interesting thing, is whenever I'm project painting from an image and I only want a specific part of it, you know, I could go through all the work of messing with the UV and GIMP, but I don't actually even like opening other software if it can be avoided. So here, we'll go back to project and we'll turn on grease pencil, new layer, make it green, and we're going to draw on a surface. So I'm just going to draw out where I want the kitty. Just about here. And I know this isn't the best way, but you know, it works. I know where this is at. So when I go over here, I now know where to put that up. And that's just something I kind of thought up when I was having to deal with this. In fact, if you haven't watched my pirate videos, the last ones where it's being textured before I just had to give up and send it in, I had shown a bunch of interesting techniques. So here, we'll just give it a low strength. Press F to change the size. Shift F to change how much. Opacity. And we'll just give it a blurry edge. And then Shift F, bring it all the way in, and just paint it in clear. And I know this isn't anything interesting, but I'm trying to be quick here and just make a quick video. I think the next tutorial is going to be about how to make someone teleport bleach style. Been working on some stuff with that too. Let's see, SQ check. And if I could bring it up, I could just show you a clip of what I'm talking about. I should have had these examples prepared, but I didn't. Let's see. So this is in a folder called Care A. Alright, now let's open it up. And this right here goes into a folder called so many file directories, I'm telling you. Alright, lost loose renders. And here we go, nothing fancy, but I just thought I'd show it off on this video. But right here, see, he didn't come back into focus right, but basically it'd be the same as in the front, but it would be doing it in reverse here, in focus. But with a good frame rate, you know, this would be pretty exciting, so that's probably going to be the next thing. Um, so let's go ahead and open up this file. Now, this is a head I've been working on today. Still working on it. Every day I try to model a head. Now, Bmesh is a unique new way to model in Blender. Let's see. So we'll start off by Shift C, put the cursor back in the center, crash Blender, open Blender, open this. Alright, and so we're going to Shift C and turn on screencast keys, which will crash Blender again. It didn't. Alright, so everybody knows that pressing tab goes into edit mode, where you can select vertices, and you can press Control tab, which will let you change your mesh select mode, so you can select faces. Basic knowledge. Now, some of the things that I've learned recently that for some reason I did not know before, or even spent the time to understand, are snapping options. Now, like I said, tab goes into edit mode, Control tab changes your mesh select mode. Alternately, you could just be clicking these icons down here, but I wouldn't. That's a lot of moving over when you could just Control tab. Now you press Shift tab, and you see this magnet comes on. That means snap. And here I'll turn it off real quick, and basically we'll align this to view, move it forward, and just scale it in. Nothing fancy. Alright. And so there you go. You can see my plane. I'm going to cut it in half. Go ahead and just delete this half. Now another thing about Bmesh is I used to be able to just alt-click and it would select it. Now for some reason it doesn't wompy. I alt-click this edge and it used to select just these two verts. Now it selects all four. Another thing to notice, but you know, Blender is always a work in progress, so you just got to fight through that stuff. Alright, so Control tab, Shift tab turns on snapping. You see the magnet, and basically it switches between your snap being active during transform. Now your snap is also able to be used when you hold Control. So if the magnet is not on, you're actually activating your snap when you hold Control, and your default is usually increment, which is why if you press G and Z and just hold Control, it just snaps via increments, but I don't think mine is, because now it is. So if I press G, Z, it snaps via increments, or it's supposed to. Whatever, increments don't even matter because that's the least cool of them. Now, when I was using ZBrush, there was quite a bit of talk about topology and how you can, sculpt a high poly mesh and do your retopology, and how it's preferable to do it there than in another software. Now, with the snapping options in Blender, it is actually a dream to do the same thing here. So let's say I wanted to make a low poly version of this mesh. I press Shift Tab, turn on snapping, and I can change it to snap to face. And what this means is that if I just G to move, no matter what, it is snapping it to the face. So right now you can't see anything. Let me just turn on X-ray, and every time that I grab it, you see the little circle. That means that I'm choosing which surface, which part of the surface I'm snapping to. So whenever you're working like this, it's important to make sure that you snap each vertice, because it may not do it automatically, and that's important to know, especially when you're just Control-click adding loops and all of that. So just G, moving all this around. And basically, you should all know the controls for basic vert manipulation by now. and getting over background images, which is kind of a strange thing to be getting hung up on. But in any case, so now right here I want to scale it in, but as you see, immediately it snapped it somewhere strange. So I press Shift Tab, scale it in, just like that, then Shift Tab, bring it back up, and then I'm back in business. And that way I can add in new geometry without being disruptive. And it's also good to go in and out of wireframe too. But retopology is an important aspect of 3D in general. You know, you make your character, you want them to be optimized for a game, optimized for up-close renders, far-away renders, certain types of animations, maybe disintegrates, or whatever the case may be. So this is a powerful feature, as you can see. So Shift Tab, turn it back off, extrude, and I just turn it back on, and like magic, I am back in business. I am completely in love with the snapping options and their functionality. You know, there's a lot of things that Blender needs some improvement on. I just say that of late because it's been crashing a lot, and it's not even frustrating no more. Alright, so Shift Tab, scale this in, and now I want to come back and do a complete redo of the texture painting series. I didn't know all the videos were going to come out with no audio, which is strange. But now we see that we have this retopologized eye, and see if we wanted to, you know, lower the poly density, we could delete edge loops and all of that. But of course you lose some volume, and then normal mapping is essential. So that's pretty much tabbing in the snap, and that was one of the things I was wanting to cover. Now, using just snapping options alone, I was able to model a pair of shoes using just nothing but snapping options, and it worked out great. In fact, here's a shot, and another shot, and another shot, and I tried it a couple of times, but as you can see, basically all I did was pretty much sculpt the outside shape of the shoe, pretty much retopologize with all the layers, cut them out, solidify each of them, added it to it, projected, solidified, and just kept going until I had layered a shoe. Now this is far from complete. Still got to add laces, still got to fine tune it. It looks a little thick, but whatever case, it's just an idea. So now we'll just go into a default file. Let's see, how long have I been chatting with you guys? 18 minutes, not too bad. Alright, so we're just gonna, and this isn't a tutorial like I was saying, just a chat. So Bmesh, a lot of people may have already tried the build, realized it was awful, deleted it, because pretty much no add-ons work. But that's okay. So I'm just adding an ICOS, or a UV sphere. And what is this? Oh wow, I guess they changed that icon. Yeah, one thing I like about the new one is the icons look different, and that's good. The old icons were boring. Themes are a lot of work. In fact, so I was going into the options to change the vertice colors and all that. For some reason I can't get to save, but whatever. So of course cut the work in half, and we'll just hide that. And like I was saying, I plan on coming back and doing a complete video on how to model the head, but I just want to show you all a little bit about what Bmesh is like and how that and how its implementation will definitely change the way that you model. And by knowing the right things, it can be for the better. But if you aren't familiar with n-gons or anything like that, you should look into it because one of the biggest changes is pressing F suddenly fills whatever. Doesn't matter what it is. You press F, fills it. 2 vertices filled. Like, look, filled. But see, I don't look at it like it's filled with a face. Like, I'm not going to leave it like that when I render. It's, in my mind, it's more like, I don't want to look at a hole. So hold the phone for a moment, and I'll come back to that. Is basically my thought when I'm messing with it. Another thing is, of course, everybody knows the selection modes. There's B for that. There's C. There's A. There's that's all I could think of at the time. But yeah, those are important to know too, especially when grabbing this stuff. Good to be fast. So we'll just take this, go on side view, flatten it, too flat. Alright, so look. In the old Blender, the knife tool was a little strange. Well, in the old Blender, the knife tool was almost logical. This one is definitely bizarre. So as you can see, I press K, and I can middle mouse button around while it's in knife mode. So I'm still in cut mode, but I'm able to move. So that's another thing. But you're able to click edges and subdivide between them. Like so. But as you can see, it can be a little wompy. You'll end up with vertices. You'll turn faces into n-gons when you didn't want to. And this is all part of the learning process, so don't let it deter you. Eventually it will all click, and you will just be amazed with what you can get out of it. So I've been actually working on the technique I want to show y'all for doing this. So it still is actually a work in progress. But I wanted to come up with a good, solid way to make a face without a whole lot of effort. And I think I got an idea. So now n-gons are special because they are able to hold more than 4 sides, and before we couldn't have that sort of thing happening in Blender. So it's important to also keep in mind that you will not want to be leaving them in your final render because they kind of don't have a shape. I mean, you think about four verts connected, making a face, you can almost imagine what the shape is like. But with n-gons, you're not really sure what that shape would be. But as you can see, instead of extruding and doing all this handy vert work, I'm able to pretty much cut the details into the surface. So real quick, I'm able to begin sculpting a human face, even on a simple low poly level. In fact, if I wanted to make the eyes, I could just come in, cut down, cut in here. And the secret to all of this is to just think in 4s, and you'll be surprised. So loop cut also is strange whenever n-gons are involved. And at this point, we have a good amount of them involved. Alright. dissolve. Alright. And so you gotta be, like I said, you gotta be mindful of your quads and your, let's see, merge these two. You gotta be mindful of your quads and your n-gons, because your n-gons will break your, your looping topology that you're always trying to go for. But basically, by just cutting it in right and, maybe even switching over to sculpt, which is what I've been doing lately. And just sculpt in some stuff. And as you can see, start to get some shape pretty fast. And I'm not even using as many polygons as I normally would. Like if I was using the old Blender modeling system, I would have to get it pretty thick in order to get anywhere near this. So right here, there's an n-gon, but really, what shape is that? I mean, it's just a black face when we look at it. I don't know if you understand kind of what I mean, but that's what I've been thinking about the whole time that I've been modeling. Like, what kind of shape is that? But I'm rambling. So, continuing to model here. And, by messing with it at such a low poly stage is good because you're able to exaggerate details with only one pull of a vert and stuff like that. And you're able to experiment and you're free to try different possibilities easier instead of having to use the proportional editing tool with a dense mesh and having it look, animalistic. But basically you can just cut your own topology through the mesh and it is utterly amazing. But the first 8 times I opened this, I hated it, didn't want to use it no more. WTH is wrong with these people. But you just really got to give it some time. And you will see that it is definitely a welcome addition. Like cycles. Everybody's a fan of cycles now. So right here we see that there's a vertex I needed to dissolve. And these things are important because you'll come into them all the time. And without knowing exactly how to handle it, you're just going to be frustrated because there's going to be some secret vertice causing an n-gon. So I control R all the time just to make sure that my mesh has a good continuity. Middle mouse button because I can. See, like I could choose to cut through all of those at once, and it didn't create a third vert. Alright, so I want to create some sort of loop around this. So I guess the easiest way would be to and so we'll cut this. And we're just trying to really cut a nose in here. It may not work out so well. I think I had it planned out a little different before. But who knows? We might come out on top with a nice nose. Let's see, a little bit of sculpting never hurt. Alright, more sculpting. I'm trying to do this fast this time. I know that these lengthy videos can get a little boring, and this is supposed to be a quick one. And here I am now sculpting a head. Alright, well, whatever, that's enough on that part for now. And so on the side, all those are still held while we're getting the front configured. Like if we want to, start working on some of the important folds that are well known in topology, like that one, we can go ahead and start getting that set up. Do a little more shaping on the nose. Alright, we'll put a cut here. Okay. Meet. We'll select this edge and dissolve it. Nope, we won't. Horrible idea. Alright, so we're going to select this and then put this here. Alright. And connect. And we're already working on this important little lip here that goes around the mouth. Now you can't do too much smoothing with this level of detail. You can't do too much smoothing with this level of detail. More cutting. And there's really not a whole lot to explain here. It's just really just adding the necessary loops that I know are required to merge them. When in doubt, I just merge. Let's see, we'll put that there. Let's see, we'll dissolve that edge, put this here, put a cut here. Okay. And so you see that the topology, you're able to just control it on the fly. So why is this not working? Maybe it's because of that. And then a classic one, V-rip. Alright, and so that's working out good. We'll just close that. So even with Bmesh, I still don't like triangles, so I try to clear them out. Alright, put a quad there. Put a four-sided face there. And we are beginning to take control over this messy mesh. Next thing is to cut here, connect it to there. Maybe grab this edge, dissolve it. So we got that coming around. Sometimes hard to tell if there's a face in there. Here we'll just K here, K, K. let's see, we will remove doubles. Let's see, is there an open face? There is. Silly me. See, I told you. Sometimes it's hard to tell, but you have to forgive me. This one can merge, center, and so we got a nice little fold around the mouth. We got this part looking nice, center. Begin moving these verts out, and this is all free modeling. We're not even using reference images. Actually, we'll delete that vert. We'll dissolve that vert. Connect it here instead. So right here is where you would want to, let's say, dissolve just random ones in the back. And sometimes I just dissolve one up there. Edge slide. Dissolve. K. And then K. And so, yeah, if we were modeling ahead, we would just keep going from here. But Bmesh offers a lot of potential. So, you know, even in completing this form, wouldn't even be that bad. It would just be a matter of alright, we'll connect it here. Okay, connect here. So we got a nasty quad in there. That's now gone. You know, this is actually starting to get some form in it. You know, we could K cut around here. And already see right in here we got a double quad. I mean a double vert. So like I was saying, you just merge those, you know. Oh yeah, remember that part's not really a shape, but we see in sculpt mode it's an awful shape that has to have something done about it. but we will come to that. Alright. K, 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 K. Actually, there should be more loops around the mouth, but there's a quad we'll have to address later. Having a triangle we'll have to address later. Center, K. Let's try to slide it on the end guy and see what happens. Edge slide, don't go nowhere. So I don't know, I think it's my theory. I think they're just black coverings. They don't actually have a shape, but I don't know. I haven't read into it yet or anything either. These are just things I ponder whenever I'm modeling. See, and I just was like, just let it go. It doesn't exist anymore. That's what I think whenever I dissolve. No exists. Another try we'll have to come back for. Kind of racking up these prisoners we gotta come back and rescue. But with the topology there of the face, you see we have an easier time setting it up to have a base expression and a shape, just due to the fact that we got it. Now, these lines are definitely not their best, but the good thing about Bmesh is that we can just rewrite whatever the topology is on the fly. But this, as I said, isn't a head modeling tutorial. I just wanted to take an opportunity to just show you all a couple of things about the program before we get into it modeling ahead.